Today on Wisdom Journey, we're joined by Ari Rastegar, real estate investor, private equity CEO, and New York Times bestselling author of The Gift of Failure. From flipping burgers and taking out a $3,500 student loan in law school to building a multi-billion-dollar real estate platform across dozens of cities, Ari's story is one of both conviction, disciplined execution, and hard-earned resilience. Often called the Oracle of Austin by Forbes, Ari is known not just for building wealth, but for building it from the inside out, blending investing, emotional intelligence, and personal performance into a philosophy of sustainable success. Today, we'll explore what failure really gives us, how to think in asymmetric bets, and what it truly means to become bankable in business and in life. Welcome to the podcast, Ari.
Thank you for having me, Wisdom. And I must say, you have one of the most beautiful names, I think, of anyone I've ever met.
Thank you. We have my dad to thank for that.
Must be a cool guy.
Yeah, you started with a 3,500 loan in law school. What was the moment you realized you were no longer just trying, but actually building something inevitable?
Well, I think that's still happening now. I think, we always have a choice. And I think that that's one of the most beautiful things about being a human being is that in a moment we have a choice of what we want to do. And the only thing I think inevitable is actually having a choice, because there's so many things in life that are beyond our control. And I used to think that this was a scary thing. And now I see it as a beautiful blessing, because each person is a part of the whole. We're a part of this huge ecosystem of the animals, of the plants, of the trees, of the earth. And then all of these other things are going in their own cadence and their own rhythm with their own objectives. And we have the choice to do the one part that we can do. So the only thing I think that is inevitable is that if we're still breathing, we're still living, we have a choice. So business is an extension of us, is from a series of decisions and a series of choices. And I think that entrepreneurs, I can speak for myself, we often are riddled with self-doubt. We're constantly second guessing ourselves, wondering if we can actually make it, dealing with critics and dealing with people saying, oh, is this going to happen? Is it not going to happen? Dealing with our own thoughts. So if we thought that it was actually inevitable, or I think that if we truly believed that the outcome was inevitable, it would rob us of the joy of surprise. It would rob us from the curiosity of discovering. So I hope that the things that I do don't become actually inevitable. I hope that the onion keeps peeling and that the things in front of us continue to be exciting and be curious and continue to surprise us with things that happen even better than we could have ever imagined.
Wow, I like the way you say business is an extension of, the personal. Um, I want us to step back a bit. Early on, when you started, what did you understand about risk that most people still misunderstand early on today?
Well, early on, I don't think I understood anything about risk. Honestly, I think being a young man, and being too arrogant, too bold, too reckless. I don't think I truly appreciated what risk actually meant. And life happens in seasons. From 0 years old to 20 years old, we're just constantly experimenting on things, and we think we'll live forever. We think that our actions don't have consequences. And, as we start to get a little bit older, we start to sense our own mortality. We start to sense that things can go wrong. We experience a certain amount of loss and gain. And we start to think that we should be a little bit more cautious in how we go about life. We might have a health scare. We might see someone we love, realize that, that life can be very, very fragile. And so early in life, I think recklessness was the theme of everything that I was doing. And then it wasn't until my first big business, this entertainment company that I write about in my book, until, we signed the biggest acts in the world. We did the biggest party around the Super Bowl. We signed the Black Eyed Peas. We got Sports Illustrated as a sponsor. We did everything you could imagine for this huge party. And then the biggest ice storm in the history of Texas crushed the party. So meaning I say that to you because until you experience, how risk can completely kick the shit out of you, you don't understand how to manage it. And the difference, I think, between amateurs and professionals, certainly amateur investors and professional investors, is professional investors spend 90% of their time working through scenarios of what could go wrong, how they
Wow,
could lose money, what are all the things they're missing, and don't become intoxicated by this, dream of making money, where amateurs think only about making money. How are we going to make money? And they get, you get this overwhelming feeling that everything is going to be great, and that's a good thing. But until you learn to temper that enthusiasm and start to manage what could go wrong, you don't, earn the privilege of being a custodian of capital.
I love that. I'm curious. What was a failure early on that felt like a collapse at the time, but later became your greatest strategic advantage? Hey, quick break. Before we continue, I'd love for you to join the Wisdom Journey newsletter. Every week, I share exclusive insights, tools, and behind the scenes updates to help you stay ahead in your own journey of building an online business. It's simple, practical, and built to help you grow. Sign up today for free at the link in the description. Now, let's get back to the episode.
Those Super Bowl parties, and like I said, I write about this extensively in my book. As a businessman, those parties, absolutely destroyed me. I mean, I was literally, I didn't know if I could continue to just get back up. And in fact, my wrestling coach, is become one of my best friends. He's my wrestling coach in middle school and high school. His cousin was the first big investor that I had in this business. And I remember after the second Super Bowl party, when the ice storm had destroyed all the profitability, at one point I went to sleep a millionaire in my 20s from selling, tables and sponsorships and tickets. And then after the ice storm hit, the accounts basically went negative. So we still had the parties, and it was one hell of a night. Don't get me wrong. We had one hell of
Yeah.
two incredible parties, but the profitability, was fucked. And I was laying in my hotel room, dreading going to talk to my investor who was also at the parties. And I was dreading getting up, going the next weekend to LA to have our next party at the Playboy Mansion for NBA All-Star Weekend. And, he said to me, Ari, what you do right now is going to define the rest of your life. I mean, literally at this moment, what you do at this moment, how you get up, how you respond, to this level of devastation is going to define the rest of your life. And he was absolutely right. And thank God we didn't make money doing those parties, because if we did, I would have become the biggest, entertainment mogul probably in the world. But instead, it pushed me to the direction of rebuilding myself and finding my destiny, which was inevitably to be in the commercial real estate private equity realm, to build, homes for people all over the world, to build office buildings, data centers, industrial facilities, to support the logistics growth of the world, which is what I was meant to do. But in the moment at that time, as a young, arrogant, reckless entrepreneur, I had no idea that's what the world had in store for me.
I love the title of your book, The Gifts of Failure. And the reason I smile is, for those deep failures, sometimes it feels like being kicked in the balls. And here we are saying the gift of failure. How does one go about engineering failure?
Just kicked in the ball. Just kicked in the balls. I thought it was like being stabbed in the throat.
I mean, it depends on the kind of failure. I mean, there are varying degrees of
It depends
failure.
on the
There's,
size of your balls too.
yeah. Well, I think one of the quote I had from a guest, she talked about earning from your mistake, right? And I'm curious, how do you go about taking failure and saying, okay, how do I engineer this failure? How do I learn from it rather than it becoming trauma? Because most of the times, like, in your instance where that ice storm, nearly bankrupt and and just ruined the plans.
Well, it's a very, very difficult path at the beginning because you are traumatized. You are scared. You are upset. Your concept of reality is absolutely shattered, and but that moment of rebuilding, of putting one foot in front of the other, and just taking that next step is how you get strong. The act of getting back up and falling back down, getting back up, falling back down is like a toddler learning to walk. They stand up, they fall down. They stand up, they fall down. Anytime that you're learning anything specialized skill, and by the way, I've come to learn that failure is learning how to win, and learning
Wow.
how to winning is actually a skill. It's not just something that happens. It's something that you learn how to win, and you also can learn how to fail well. And when you fail well, you go back. If you're an athlete and you fail, you go back and watch film. You go back through all your steps.
Yeah.
You watch the game. You see what went wrong. You see what you could learn. So you can fail bad and just, it works and say, oh, everything is fucked. Poor me. The life sucks. I'm a victim. This is terrible. Me, 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 me. Or you can say, interesting. Let's go figure out what happened so that shit never fucking happens again.
Wow. I like that because I'm curious, I haven't written the book about the gift of failure. How do you think high performance psychological, how do I say it? Psychologically process failure differently from everyone else?
Well, the difference is the people that process failure psychologically well are called winners. That's one.
Yeah.
Winning, like I said, is also a habit. So is losing. How many people have you met in your life that no matter what good happens to them, they still find a way to fuck it up? I know you know those
Yeah.
people. So do I.
Yeah.
They're universal. And how do you also know people? Do you also know people that no matter what bad tragedy happens to them, they find a way to smile? They find a way to keep going. They find a way to help others. They find a way to be blessed by God, to say their prayers and find the good in things. You know those people too, right?
If you want to learn more about Ari's work and investment philosophy, visit rastegarinvest.com. I'll put the link in the description so you can go directly to the site. Thanks for tuning in to Wisdom Journey. I hope today's episode gave you practical steps and fresh ideas to keep moving forward. If you found value, be sure to subscribe and share this podcast with a fellow creator or entrepreneur who'd love to learn too. And don't forget to sign up for the newsletter and the link in the description for more resources, experiments, and lessons straight to your inbox. Until next time, keep building, keep learning, and keep walking your own wisdom journey. Yeah.